Hey everybody, it's Susan and Mary, and it is April the 10th, and we're studying Dr. A's Habits of Health and going to look at Chapter 2, which is the path, the creation of optimal health. And so glad that you were able to join us. And I know some of you, it doesn't work on Monday nights. And hey, if you're watching this recording, good for you. Hopefully you have a chance to look at the books as well. But hey, just listening, you can pick up some tips. And hey, it's part of our journey to keep on getting healthy. And what's talking about is optimal health. And his definition is that optimal health is the highest degree of health that's possible for you to achieve. And so for all of us, it's going to be different. We're all at different stages in our life, and God's given us all different bodies. So we're just trying to make it the best possible that we can be for whatever stage in life that we are. And anyway, he starts out talking about non-sick versus healthy. And I've never really thought about that before, but I know when I went to see my doctor and I was weighing in over 300 pounds, he said I was really fortunate to not be on any pills. I didn't have to worry about high blood pressure or, cholesterol pills or diabetes or any of those kind of things that a lot of people are on. But if I kept on that path, I probably would have those things in my future. So at that point, you couldn't really call me healthy at over 300 pounds, but I wasn't really sick either. So that's kind of what he calls non-sick, where you're just kind of simply surviving as opposed to a healthy state of thriving. And he said that's caused by eating an excess quantity of nutritionally barren food, which overworks the pancreas and facilitates your body's storage of fat. And being non-sick often leads to life-threatening illness. So anyway, Mary is a nurse by trade. So, hey, do you have some insights on that or anything that you picked up out of this first part of the chapter?
Well, as a nurse, I see that all the time, and I have had patients that lost weight and would call and say, hey, I'm off my diabetic medicine. Hey, I'm off my blood pressure. Hey, I'm off my cholesterol. And they're like, this really works. And I'm like, yeah, it does. But I wasn't doing anything about it myself except getting fatter. So it talks later, probably the two things that stood out to me was, insulin and inflammation. Luckily, I wasn't pre-diabetic, but the inflammation is just 100% better. And I just can't even imagine. I can't believe the difference because that happened right away. And I can't wait to have my BMI down to 25. That would be awesome.
Yeah, me too. It's like, hey.
Is yours down? Are you down to 25?
No, I don't think I've hit 25 yet. And I haven't actually looked on that chart for a while to see where it actually is. But I know I wasn't totally there yet. I was kind of like just barely edging into the healthy. But hey, when I started, I wasn't even on the BMI chart. So working my way down. So making progress.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I always thought you wouldn't be a perfect 10, and here our real goal is to be a perfect 25.
Yeah, right.
No, that's great. And what else does he do here? And he said we could start by asking ourselves some questions. They're on page 13 and saying, is my health improving every day? And are my daily habits creating greater health and vibrancy, or are they draining my battery and putting me on an accelerating path toward disease? Am I already in a non-sick or sick state? And the exciting thing that he talks about in there is changing our path, that you can change your path. And just by making these choices and changes that, you don't have to, your future isn't necessarily determined by where you are now. And I think I'd given up. I tried so many things over the years that I thought I'm just kind of stuck here and I didn't know what else to even do. So Take Shape for Life has definitely changed and saved my life and given me a quality of life that I couldn't have imagined before. So it's kind of exciting. And what else did he talk about? I know when you get to like page 14, it was kind of interesting, that little sidebar. He's talking about the global drug companies selling sickness. And he says there's just so much money to be made convincing healthy people that they're sick. And you think about all those commercials that you see, and there's an awful lot out there. So that instead of, helping people stay healthy, it's more of the opposite way of trying to get them on those medications.
Oh, yeah.
And then he talks about starting habits. And he said to make our change and to change the course that we're on is to begin by adopting new healthy habits. This is page 14. And to build momentum with those habits. So your path can change at any point on your journey. And that change, like you kind of mentioned, it can happen almost instantaneously. There's some changes that you do see quickly. You're not predestined to get sick. That's the drug company's message, not ours. And he's got some charts there that'll demonstrate that. He was talking, it's your daily habits, your habits of disease or your habits of health that determine the direction. And he lists some of those different habits on page 14. He talks about habits of healthy eating. And of course, we're exploring that by eating how many meals in a day?
6. 5 fillings and a green meal.
Exactly. So that's just kind of getting us into that fat burn state and helping us to balance those blood sugars and decrease the inflammation. Then he talks about the habits of moving our body. And as we get closer, and especially if you've got weight to lose, when we start losing it, you feel more like moving and you aren't as likely to hurt yourself either. So obviously, we don't want you exercising too much while you're on the 5 and 1, but as you feel like it, moving more and getting some exercise is healthy, and we do want to go for that. Then he talks about strategic behavioral habits. And we've talked some about being mindful. And he says, examining how you make your choices. And he'll go into a lot of these farther on in the book as we get through it. And helping us to understand our patterns and triggers, and helping establish support systems. And hey, this is one of our support systems, connecting with each other and between Facebook and the coaches and the different folks doing things. That's kind of some of the early steps here. And hey, even when you get to a healthy weight, these things are still going to exist. And doing things together sure is a lot more fun. And what the Bible says, when one falls, the other one helps pick him up. So much better to kind of go along there. And none of us are perfect. I sure haven't been perfect on the plan. So, but we keep making more and more healthy choices, and they add up. They talks about through vitamin nutrients. So all the healthy kind of nutrients and things that are in our food. And sometimes you need to add some extra ones, but with our fuelings, when you have your 5 in a day, you're getting all your vitamins and minerals. And now you're getting probiotics and vitamin D too. So that's awesome with the new essentials line. And then the habit of reducing dangerous inflammation. I said you can already feel that in your joints, you said right away there. Yeah. And I think it's interesting, it's not even just on the outside what you feel, but there's so much going on internally that you see those changes on the outside, but I bet your arteries and heart, I don't know what all is affected totally by inflammation, but everything that puts it in kind of almost a state of crisis, doesn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know I had so much inflammation until it was gone. I guess I was just so used to it.
Yep. We just think that's the normal, or it's like, okay, that's the price I'm paying because I've done all this to myself. And it's like, wow, you can tell a difference in there. And then talking about habits of good sleep. Have you noticed any improvement in your quality of sleep since being on program?
Yes, I've been sleeping a lot better.
Isn't that cool? A lot of people report that being a better side effect. And I know as I've lost the weight, I feel so much better. I used to wake up and just hurt my joints from laying down at night. I think just the shape that my body was in. Seriously, the shape. When you got a really big back end, if you lay on your back, it arches you really bad, and it's just not good. So by having that reduced, I can actually sleep on my back. Of course, I probably snore when I'm on my back. So when I'm with somebody, it's good. My sister will let me know about that, I'm sure. And then creating a healthy environment and talking about building a health bubble. That's just surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded. So that's kind of what we do in our community. And as we practice those healthy habits, those around us are more likely to maybe pick up some of those things too and be done. And then it talks about the habits of support. And so with our friends, a coach, or a whole network of people. And this goes along with his, we aren't going through this book necessarily, but it's part of what you've gotten to, this living a longer, healthier life. And that's the workbook that goes along with it. And the first like 3 chapters in there, his first thing is telling you to read chapters 1 and 2. So between what we read last week and then this week, he's got all kinds of different little things. It's just things to help you kind of ask yourself some questions and write down some answers for where you're at. On page 6 of that book, he talks about obesogenic versus leptogenic. And obesogenic choices are things that make us obese, and leptogenic choices are things that'll help make us thin or healthy. So it's either the habits of health or the habits of disease. And like he puts a whole list of things that some of them you kind of got to think about. Like he talks about, okay, eating a substantial breakfast every morning, habit of health or habit of disease. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree.
And then he'll talk about having 3 meals a day. That's actually a habit of disease, because if you're doing 3 meals, they're spaced so far apart, it's not helping you balance that blood sugar and inflammation. And so there's all kinds of things. Those are good things to kind of look over and give yourself a little quiz and think, oh, what about that? And maybe give you some ideas of things that I think is interesting. Even wearing clothes with elastic waistbands. You know what? That's a habit of disease, because when you got that elastic waistband on, you don't notice as quickly when you are maybe getting a little off track and putting a little more padding around the middle, because it just expands and isn't uncomfortable. But I can tell you, it's like I put on a couple pounds here and there, and it's like all of a sudden you're going, okay, you notice it a lot quicker than I was in my little stretchy pants. It's like, wouldn't have thought about that being a habit, huh? Yeah. And he talks there too in the workbook, saying that bad habits can be difficult to break, but fortunately the same is true for good habits. So by really developing good habits, those also are hard to break. We just have to get those into place so that those become our natural responses. So we're kind of exercising our yes or no please, depending on what it is that we're being offered, muscles. And we're trying to focus on creating these new healthy habits rather than wasting a lot of energy trying to get rid of things you don't want. So once again, it's kind of focusing on the positive, on creating the new healthy habits. So it's always going toward what it is that you want, instead of trying to escape and get rid of things you don't want and putting it in the negative. So instead of saying, oh, I want to lose weight, it's like, I want to be able to walk freely. Hey, I want to look good in my bikini on the boat this summer. I want to be able to ride my bike, and do it freely, and looking at the positive stuff. And repetition is the key to automating endless of brave routines. Bless you. Poor little Mary's got a cold again. It's like, it's crazy this season of the year. Do you have allergies?
Some, but this is just a good old-fashioned cold.
We're saying, like, I think yesterday was like one of the high pollen days or something. So I wonder if that kicks them up. You never know. But, no matter what we're doing, habits are vital, and you're either going to have habits that are going to help you get to your healthy goals, or your habits are going to keep you from getting to those. So it's like, which habits do you want to focus on? And it said, as a critical care physician, I stood at the bedside of many people facing death. Believe me, at those moments, no one is thinking about the size of their portfolio or what kind of car they drive. Life is a journey that's hard to enjoy without health. To sacrifice our health for a lifestyle that makes us overworked and overstressed just doesn't make sense. So if you had a choice to live in optimal health, would you take it? And I think all of us will say yes, and we do. We have that choice right in our hands to do that. I'm going to see back in the book here, in the Dr. A's Habits of Health. Yes. Let me hop over to page 16. Is there anything else that's standing out to you, Mary?
No, as a nurse, I know most of this, but doing it's another thing, but I'm doing it.
You are. It's like, it's good. And that finding so much of things in life we got up here, but it's like putting it into practice. And I know for me, like the health coaching has been very good, because it's for that. It's like, okay, I don't want to be two-faced, so that, hey, if I'm telling folks to do something, I want to be doing it and living it too. And it's like, it's very good at keeping me accountable. And
I bet.
think twice. It's like, hey, it's good. And so in 16, he says, our health is our most precious asset, yet the daily choices most of us make directly conflict with our ability to preserve it. Why? Because the negative results aren't always obvious right away. Eating a cheeseburger today or bypassing the treadmill on your way to the couch won't cause a noticeable downturn in your health right away. By the same token, choosing a healthy vegetable for lunch today or going to the gym once or twice in January won't create a noticeable improvement. What will make a difference is choosing actions on a daily basis that support your journey to optimal health. And he talks about at the bottom there that we tend to think of weight loss as a destination where in fact it's really just a first step. Our optimal health is a journey based on lifestyle change, a reorientation from merely hoping to lose weight, all the while succumbing to daily stress and making poor choices to create optimal health by allowing our minds and bodies to work together. That's a very different focus than losing weight alone. And so it is that focus on health. There's coming up in a few chapters, we'll talk about it more too, but I was listening to somebody's podcast and they were kind of talking about how we don't think about it. So many of us focus on the outside and what shape of our body and the scale and the fat that we're carrying around and want to get rid of. But in reality, the fat is a reflection of what is going on inside. Kind of like we were talking about the things in the inflammation. It may be something we feel on the outside, but it could be actually wreaking a lot more havoc on the inside. Mm-hmm. So by making the healthy choices, we're helping all of our internal organs. I mean, when was the last time you thought about what kind of work your liver was doing or your pancreas? I mean, I never think about that kind of stuff. And you see some of those pictures where, I don't know if you've seen them, where they have the organs and stuff just covered in fat, like what a person is. And it's like, wow, how would you like your little organs to be like with a 2-year-old clinging to them all the time or something? You know, it's like a heavy load. And that's kind of what we do, to overstress them. And I think they were saying that's some people, diabetics, their pancreas they can't keep up with all the stuff they're putting in their system. So I think, is that type 2 diabetes to be more, it's not like just natural, it's kind of like something maybe more from lifestyle choices?
Right.
I always have to think type 1, type 2. I think of one as an insulin shot.
It's so common too. It's just amazing.
It is. And yeah, it's reversible. By making these choices, for a lot of people, like you said, you've gotten some calls from people who have made healthy choices and lost some weight and they've been able to get off medications. And of course, everybody's different. We don't make any promises, but typically when we get healthy, a lot of other things fall into place too. And let's go on page 17. This is a kind of interesting question here. I thought, he says, let's think about these choices as if they were money in the bank. Say you have a choice to make. I'll write you a check for $1 million today, or I'll give you a penny today and double it every day for 31 days. 2 choices, $1 million today or the sum of a penny doubled for 1 month. What would you do? I know. What do you think?
Well, I've heard that before, so I know what the answer was, but it's still amazing to see that.
It is. And most of us, we go for that instant $1 million. That's like the sure thing in my pocket. So yeah, give me the million. And kind of like that, oh, that brownie's sitting right there. I want it right now. Instead of looking at the long term. Because you know what? If you took his little deal for a penny doubled every day for 31 days, you'd end up at the end of that month with $10,737,418. Wow. It's like just being a little patient and delaying that gratification paid off big time, almost 11 times what if you took it in there. And seeing so many people, they're going for the instant, the next breakthrough, the next cure, the little pill that will help us lose weight. People rush out and have gastric bypass or buy the latest prescription. Often they aren't thinking about their long-term health risks or the side effects. They're just thinking, this is the easy way out. And he says, take my word for it, there are always side effects. And that's true. It's like, hey, some people are successful, but a lot of times they do those things and it's kind of like hurting their bodies, and then it comes back on anyway.
Right.
And anyway, that's like, I mean, that's pretty much. Is there anything else that popped out to you or thoughts that you may have highlighted in that chapter?
Just all of it. It was just, a reminder, and I'd like to be, I looked at the phases, which is on the next page, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to get past this.
Yep.
And feel better than I do already.
Yeah, you're making progress, and that's exciting, and that's what we're doing is progress. We say, hey, it's not a race, it's not it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we're just little by little going to keep on going, and hey, the more we stick to it, we know the plan works. So it's just really getting our mindset and making those healthy choices, and that makes such a difference. And the goal was beginning with phase 1, when it transformed from a fat factory to a fat burning machine. He said, stabilize your insulin, douse the inflammatory fires, start building habits that support your health. So that's pretty much everything I had here. The next chapter we'll do next week is chapter 3, and it's talking about motivation for change. And so I think that's going to be really good and give us some good ideas there, and give us some practical things of, hey, like I said, motivation for a lot of us is what it's about and what's kind of hard to keep it going. So it'd be fun to see what he says about that. So anyway, I think that's about it. And this Saturday, if you're in the Columbus area, at 1 o'clock, we're going to meet at Core Life Eatery over there at Sancus and Polaris. And anybody that is in the area, please come join us. We'd love to have you. And it's a great time. We always have a great time. Whoever shows up, it's just nice getting to fellowship with each other and ask questions and come up with some new ideas. And then May the 20th, we're going to have another little get together. We'll do it at Mary Jo's house and get some lean and green ideas, and going to have a pampered chef lady come in. They have so many neat tools, and I thought it'd be more fun to have somebody else do presenting stuff. No pressure to buy stuff. She'll be telling you about her stuff and have the option if you want something, but that's not the goal. I just trying to think of some fun things for us to do. And if y'all have any ideas or a topic that would like to discuss or a date or something to do, let me know. Let's do it. So anyway, thanks for joining me, Mary, and I'm going to stop the recording here.